Okay, I'm back now. So to pick up where we left off, I'm going to go back here to OneNote, and so we figured all these on a per pound basis. Next thing I would do is calculate how many dollars worth of each of these ingredients we have in our 1 ton ration. So what I can do is take each of these. So I guess the ones I'm focusing on here in this ration are the premix, soybean meal, and Milo. But I don't actually even use the corn here. So for the premix, I have 0.6612. That's dollars per pound times 110 pounds. If I want to put that over one, I can. Then this way the pounds will cancel out. And what that does is give us $72.73. That's how many dollars worth of what is that premix we have in 1 ton. Then I can do the same thing for soybean meal. So up here I said that's 0.2875. So 2875. That's dollars per pound. I have 350 pounds of that. If I multiply those out, I get $100.63. That's how much dollars worth of soybean meal I have in 1 ton of my feed. Finally, we have Milo. So Milo is, we say, 12 over 12 cents per pound, and we have 1,540 pounds of Milo. Put that over one if I want, and okay, and you multiply those together, you get 185.72. So rounded to the nearest full cent. Okay, so now if I add the three of those up, 72 plus 100 plus 185 and odd cents, we get $359.08. So that's per 1 ton feed. But I'm wanting to know, so that's for 2,000 pounds. I'm wanting to know what's the cost per pound. So I could show this units cancellation, but I think at this point, if you know it's $359.08 per ton, and you know a ton is 2,000 pounds, you can divide 359.08 by 2,000. You do that, you get 795 per pound. So almost 18 cents. If you want to round it to 18 cents, I'd be fine with that per pound. So that's the answer to number 5. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number 6. Using the info from above, how the ration cost change if corn was substituted for Milo at a cost of $16 per hundredweight. I'm not going to do that one. That one's pretty darn similar. Use the same approach as we did on the previous one. I've got the answer on the answer key. All right, finally, the application rate, gallons per acre of a field sprayer is given by this. So we have some formula here where 5940 is a units conversion. It's a constant. So we do that times the flow rate per nozzle, and that has to be in gallons per minute. Divide all that by miles per hour times nozzle spacing. So what size of nozzle is required? So we're solving for the flow rate per nozzle. We're solving for that gallons per minute. So we've got gallons per acre equals 5940 times, this is our flow rate or gallons per minute. So I'm just taking this right from what's on the sheet, over miles per hour times NSI, nozzle spacing. We're solving for this one here. How do we solve for that? Well, we can multiply both sides by the denominator over here and then divide that whole product by 5940. So let's go ahead and plug in what we know. So we want 20 gallons of spray per acre. We got 20 gallons per acre. Can't write an A very well for some reason. Equals 5940 times, this is our gallons per minute, so I'm just going to call this GPM, over miles per hour, so we're going 10 miles an hour, and mph times nozzle spacing, which is 60 nozzles at 18 inches. So this has to be an 18. So this down here equals 180. We can see that right now. So I can go ahead and do that first, and then I can multiply both sides by 180, and that gets rid of our denominator over here on the right. So take 180 times 20, which is this 20 right here. I'm taking 180 times that. That's what, 3,600? 3,600 equals 5940 times GPM. So GPM equals 3,600 divided by 5940 equals what? Answers looks like 0.606 gallons per minute. So this one isn't so much of a units cancellation problem as it is just being able to solve for an unknown. So 0.606 gallons per minute. All right. Final one, you need to apply 2 pounds of active ingredient of an 80% wettable powder in a 30-gallon per acre dilution. The sprayer has a 500-gallon tank. How many pounds of wettable powder are required to mix 500 gallons of spray? Note that wettable powder are specified as a certain percent strength, such as 50% or 80%, which means 80% of the weight of the material in the container is the active ingredient. Okay, so we've got 80% of the weight of the material is actually active ingredient. If we want to apply 2 pounds of active ingredient, and we're using this 80% wettable powder, if we just apply 2 pounds of this material, we're only going to get 1.6 pounds of active ingredient. So we actually need to apply a little bit more. So here we need 2 pounds and divide this by 0.8. Okay, 0. Huh. Right over here for some reason. Let me erase what I've got, move over a little bit. So 2.0 divided by 0.8. You do that, and what do you get? 2.5. We need 2.5 pounds of material. 2.5 pounds of material. All right, 30-gallon per acre dilution. Look at this a little closer here. Okay, so 30 gallons. Okay, so we're putting 2.5 pounds of material in each 30 gallons. And if the sprayer has a 500-gallon tank, how many pounds of wettable powder are we required to mix? So this is 2.5 pounds of WP. The material is WP. All right, so we lastly need to figure out how many 30 gallons, gallon units go into our 500-gallon tank, because we're putting in 2.5 pounds of wettable powder per 30 gallons. So if we take 500-gallon tank, and divide it by 30 gallons, so equals 500 divided by 30. So 16.67 is how many 30-gallon units are in our 500. And in each 30 gallons, we have 2.5 pounds of wettable powder. If I take 16.67, and take that times 2.5 pounds wettable powder equals 41.67 pounds wettable powder to each 500 gallons of water. Okay. So I know that probably wasn't the clearest explanation. So let me try to clear it up a little bit. Okay, so we had, we need to apply 2 pounds of active ingredient to 80% wettable powder. 80% wettable powder means that only 80% of our material is active ingredient. So if we want 2 pounds of active ingredient, we need to put on 2.5 pounds of this wettable powder per acre. That'll give us the concentration we need. And we're putting 2.5 pounds of wettable powder in each 30 gallons. And that's how much goes on an acre. So we're applying 2.5 pounds of wettable powder in 30 gallons, and that treats 1 acre. Our sprayer has a 500-gallon tank, so how many pounds of wettable powder do we need to mix in? Well, we know we're 2.5 gallons. 2.5 pounds per 30 gallons, and we need to take this times, there are 500 gallons per tank. If I do this, get the gallons to cancel out, we'll be left with how many pounds we put in a tank. So 2.5, just make sure this works. So 2.5 times 500 equals divided by 30. And the reason equals this divided by 30 is 41.67. So maybe that helps a little bit more to think about it in terms of units cancellation. So 2.5 pounds of wettable powder goes in each 30-gallon solution. And we have a 500-gallon tank. So we ultimately want to know how many pounds of wettable powder per tank. So it's 41.67. We can discuss this a little bit more in class if you have questions on that. So anyways, I will make this available, these notes, these sloppy notes available to you, and I'll send you the link to that. And otherwise, work through this on your own. You can also look at those additional practice problems, and we'll meet back up on Tuesday. So have a good weekend.